Welcome to this week's edition of Red and Black Sport. Now, I personally, for one, thoroughly enjoy the Commonwealth Games. If for nothing else, it's a pathway, isn't it, for athletes to attain higher honours, be it at World Champs or be at the Olympic Games. So it serves a purpose. I know it's a limited field, but hey, I think it's still got a place in sport. And all those that achieve, that's great. I think competitions, there are highs and lows, of course there are. I thought the effort of the triathletes that we'd sent over there was disappointing, and of course the sevens being knocked out today by a much stronger and better drilled, I thought, South African side. But, you know, there'll be steps put in place, I'm sure, to prepare both those sports better for Rio in 2016. Congratulations, though, to our cyclists and even the judo athletes, which I'm sure in a pub quiz we'll never know their names, but they did very well indeed. And to Jo Edwards' efforts on, well, what could only be called slow greens, I suppose. She won a gold in the bowls as well, which is great. So, how refreshing to watch sport, though, isn't it, with all the bloodshed going on around the world. And here is a competition which is fair, it seems reasonably equal, and it's played with a lot of camaraderie. And I think that's a refreshing thing, given world events that are going on as we speak. Congratulations to the Crusaders. Well, they just did a demolition derby, didn't they, on the highly fancied Sharks. And it was great at IM Stadium on Saturday night. Focus and determination were displayed in spades, and the 2014 title now, I think, is within the grasp of the Crusaders as they head to Sydney next Saturday night. Good luck to them. The All Black squad's been named, and, you know, for the Rugby Championships, and for years, of course, All Black coaches have always had a darling or a player that they really like and fancy and go with. Well, I don't know what can happen. How can Sam Cane possibly be included in that Rugby World squad when someone like Matt Todd, I don't believe, can play any better than he's currently playing at the moment? And I'm reminded of the famous words of former All Black Eric Rush. At the end of the day, Toddy, and I'm talking Matt Todd at this stage, just remember, it's only one man's opinion. But congratulations to you, my boy. You've played so well for the Crusaders. You deserve to be an All Black, and you deserve to be in Sydney and the Bledisloe Cup game coming up in a couple of weeks' time. That's my opinion, anyway, of what I think. If you've got any thoughts, pete.smith@ctv.co.nz. Now we come to a curly one, I've got to tell you. In 30 years of doing this program, I've sought and really gone out of my way to make sure that when an issue arises, we get fairness and balance into the discussion. An argument, of course, always has two sides, doesn't it? Well, I can tell you that I have spent considerable time trying to get one side of the argument together. I've made repeated calls to Metro CEO Mike Harvey. He's now declined to appear. He referred me to the chairman, lawyer Ashley Taggart, who I would have thought with a courtroom battle or anything like that, you'd want to hear both sides of the argument. I can honestly say I felt I was given a run around by Canterbury Cricket and by the Metro competition. They have made a decision, and it sounds as though it's binding, that they will exclude country cricket from both their senior Metro competition and their under-20 competition. Now, I just want to take your mind back to after February 2011, when cricket was in dire straits, weren't they? They had no home, nowhere to go, everything was knocked out. They put the call through to Canterbury Country Cricket, can you do something with Main Power Oval? And I happen to know the people that work at Main Power Oval. They are all amateurs, they are all volunteers, and they gave just colossal amount of time to bring that venue up to be able to host Canterbury Cricket. What do they get in return? A kick in the guts, in my opinion. Now, I want to just say this right now. I don't have an axe to grind any way at all, apart from fairness, and I just wonder whether it's fair. My guest I admire very much for coming in. He is the current Canterbury Cricket captain. He's a contracted player to Canterbury Cricket. So, you know, don't bite the hand that feeds you, is the old saying. But in my guest case, he just can't help the country blood that flows through his veins. So I'm talking about Peter Fulton. Peter, the decision that's come through, I understand is binding, but I think that's still in the wings, because I understand that there is a board meeting of Canterbury Cricket on Thursday night where they have the opportunity to overthrow Metro's competition ruling if they see fit. In a nutshell, tell me your thoughts and where you think it is.
Well, yeah, as you say, the decision's been made by the Metro board, and as you say, that's we've gone down the avenues of appealing to them, and you know they've heard our appeal and I guess declined it. But as you say, there is an opportunity this week. Canterbury Cricket Board are meeting. And I think, as far as I understand it, they do have the authority to supersede or go over the top of the Metro Board's decision if they believe it's in the best interests of Canterbury cricket as a whole.
So you are looking at this from a Canterbury cricket point of view, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
Everyone should get a shake of the stick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm born and bred in Canterbury country, and that's, I guess that's definitely the side that I'm on. I want what's best for Canterbury country cricket. But I think in this case, what's best for country, I think, is in the best interests of Canterbury as a whole.
Now, Canterbury Country CEO has come out with a statement that really the main emphasis for Canterbury Country cricket is for Hawke Cup preparation. Now, I don't know whether he may want to revisit that statement, whether it's actually, really in the true interests of country cricket and Canterbury cricket. And at the end of the day, the Metro Board is only a subcommittee of the Canterbury Cricket Board. Now, I know they're autonomous, they look after amateur cricket, that's fine. Pete, I want to take you back, and it's probably 30 years ago I'm going to take you back to, growing up in the country, wanting to play for country, and you've been just so loyal to them. Did you see a pathway for you as a cricketer?
Oh, well, I think when I was coming up through the ranks, I think, in those days, if you played out in the country, I think, as far as Canterbury selection sort of went, you were seen as second-class citizens, really. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably a fair way of putting it. And there have been, plenty of country guys that have played for Canterbury, over the last 30, 40 years, whatever it might have been.
With distinction?
Yeah, with distinction. But it was, it was definitely a lot tougher to get picked for Canterbury from the country, because you didn't play week in, week out against the guys that you were competing with. So.
Now, you also were a slashing fullback in the country. I remember, of course, then you came to Christ College, and you were pretty useful there as well. We heard last year, didn't we, that Scott Robertson got chastised when he named his ITM squad where there were no country rugby players in it. So is it a situation that isn't just peculiar to cricket, that it's too tough to make your rep side if you're from the country?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the case of rugby, that may well be the case. But I think, as you alluded to earlier, probably in the last 4 or 5 years, with main power, the way they've developed the facilities there, and it's a first-class wicket. And I think you've seen a lot of guys, young up-and-coming cricketers from the country, who have now realised that they're actually probably better off as far as their development goes to play out in the country, and to play on a quality wicket and improve their skills. But I guess the beauty of playing in that one-day competition was that it still allowed us, the guys from the country, the opportunity to have a crack against the
all you wanted was to be noted, wasn't it? That they knew you were playing cricket. Yeah, and that's the best venue to do it in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I think, I don't believe we want to go down an avenue where, there's only one competition in Canterbury that's relevant as far as, the quality of the standard. It had got to the stage, I believe, in the last couple of years where, it was a really viable option for an up-and-coming Canterbury youngster who wanted to play for Canterbury or to play for New Zealand, who, he had a chance to go out to Canterbury country and play at main power, and I don't think it would have affected his development at all. Right.
Now, I have had a lot of correspondence, I've got to tell you. I just have received a statement from Canterbury Cricket after I'd asked the CEO if he would like to appear. I did hear from both the CEO and the chairman of Metro. We believe everybody in the country is happy. Well, I can tell you this pile here tells me they're not happy, and I think it should be explored more fully. Peter Fulton, as I say, has courageously come in here. We're going to talk about the issues with country cricket versus Metro when we come back. Welcome back. We're discussing the issue of the separation now of Metro club competition cricket from Canterbury country. Some believe that it can be very damaging to up-and-coming players from the country coming through. I'd like to swing it the other way as well, though. What a wonderful experience for Metro clubs to go and play in the country. That's got to be a factor, Pete, doesn't it?
Oh, it is, and I've spoken to a lot of guys that play senior club cricket in Christchurch. Not just recently, but over the years, and you won't hear anyone say a bad word about having country in the competition. They love going out there, playing on a first-class ground, and playing on a cricket wicket where you can score 300, you can score 250 in 50 overs, and it's not 110 plays 90 as is often the case in town.
Okay. Now, I hope he's not misquoted, because I'm going to quote him. Ashley Taggart made a statement some time ago where he said it will allow premier clubs to improve their recruitment. In other words, it sounds to me like a deliberate attempt to lure Canterbury cricketers from the country to come into town. Good or bad?
Well, I think it's bad for Canterbury cricket. I don't think trying to to weaken other club competitions to strengthen your own competition is a good way of doing it. I don't think that's in the best interests of Canterbury cricket as a whole. And to me, to my mind, it doesn't address the issues in not just Metro club cricket, but all probably club cricket in New Zealand, and that is the quality of pitches. Everyone knows that nothing can ruin a game of cricket faster than a bad pitch, and also probably the thing that affects all club sport as well is guys going to high school, guys and girls go to high school, then they finish high school and they give up club sport and they don't play anymore.
To quote again from the chairman, and I find this actually quite amusing to me, what you need to remember is we're Metro now, not Canterbury Cricket. Sorry, I can't quite follow that logic. There is a parent body and under that are subcommittees or whatever. If you take the example of the Canterbury Rugby Union, the Canterbury Rugby Union have a board. Made up of that, of course, is the Crusader board. Made up of that is also the club board, the amateur side of the game. But at the end of the day, they belong to the parent body, which is Canterbury Cricket. I restate that they have a meeting, Canterbury Cricket's board, on Thursday. I wonder how aware they are of the unease and the unrest that is in the country. And I think they probably have a fair justification to be upset by the decision. Pete, it's not as though you've come to town and you've dominated the one day or the under-20 competition.
No. I mean, I think when we first came into the one-day comp 10 years ago, we probably struggled, to be honest. We found the step up pretty tough, but in the last 3 or 4 years, I think we've made the semi-finals 4 of the last 5 years. Made the final twice, haven't won it.
But isn't that the purpose, to raise the bar for country cricket, to come into town, just test yourself, see how you can go?
Oh, absolutely. And I think I think Canterbury Country have definitely, I don't deny that we've definitely benefited from being able to play in the town competition, which is good for country. But I don't think anyone in the Metro comp would also deny that their competition is stronger for having us in it.
Yeah, well, that's what I just can't quite get my head around. It's not as though it's a New Zealand decision. We're still only a province, aren't we? Made up of components, which are country cricket, which are Metro cricket. Surely to goodness that should have a marriage rather than a divorce. Well,
I think if we want Canterbury cricket to do well and be successful in the future, I think we have to work together. The sport's not strong enough in Canterbury for us to just all go our own separate ways and worry about ourselves.
Well, I think that's a problem too. If you look at some of the country boys that have come through to the Canterbury A side, which you're the current captain of at the moment, you might not be after this interview, I've got to tell you, but if we look at some of those guys that have come through, you look at Henry Nichols, you look at Will Williams, you look at Jeremy Benton. We're talking about the young boy Boyle now, who wants to come out to the country. Where was the downside? That's what I just can't get my head around.
Oh, absolutely. I can't see a downside at all, really. I think we want to create, as many clubs or as many competitions or as many chances for good young cricketers to play cricket. I think a bit of competition between country and Metro and South Canterbury and Mid Canterbury and Buller. We should be trying to encourage that, I think, rather than just throw everyone in one competition and say, well, everyone else is out on their own.
I don't want to get political with this thing at all, but it seems to me that if this goes through, we could look potentially at a situation where you deprive opportunity of people to go where they want to go. Now, I think in a workplace, I think that's dangerous. There are a lot of people that are just ready to have a crack over that. If you have a look at now rugby players, for argument's sake, yes, they can go here, there and everywhere, but they are allowed the opportunity to choose. And that's what you're saying, I think, Pete, isn't it? Give them the choice. Do they want to play country or do they want to play in town?
Yeah, and at the moment, players do have that choice, and I think that's a good thing for Canterbury cricket as a whole. And if this decision does go through, it's going to make it very difficult for a young cricketer in the future who comes through the grades and when he finishes high school has a decision to make. It's going to be very tough for him to to not go to one of the metro clubs.
I come back to 2011 again and the earthquake. It has changed the dimension of Canterbury as well. We went out and did a press cup game at Rangiora High School 2 or 3 weeks ago. Spoke to Chubb Hayes, who's the deputy headmaster out there. They had 98 new pupils turn up on opening day 2012. They're now at 1,500 pupils. Suddenly, it may have shifted. I don't know how many Lincoln High School have gained, but if you look at the housing situation, it's North Canterbury and Selwyn. The dynamics have changed and we're going against that trend.
Yeah, and I think, I believe at the heart of this is the fact that there were 5 members of the Canterbury under-19 team this season last season that won the national tournament. 5 members of that side were either affiliated or already playing for Canterbury Country or decided to play for Canterbury Country. And you can't help read between the lines and say, well, that's, the metro clubs have taken a look at that and thought, well, that's a trend that we want to reverse. Yeah. So the best way to do that is to remove country from the competition.
All right, that's the thoughts of Peter Fulton. As I say, he's got country cricket going right, or country in his blood right through his veins. It's only a person's opinion. We did, I repeat again, we gave the right and exercised, and I pushed hard to get some balance into this on the other side. It hasn't been forthcoming. Back for the last time, we talked to Peter Fulton. Welcome back. The focus of our attention, of course, today has been over at the senior level, but I think it's important that we remember that country cricketers, boys and girls from year 6, get the chance to play for country. Obviously, to aspire to the level that my guest got to, and that was to be a fully fledged international black cap in the national side. Why on earth would you want to destroy that fabric and have 8 teams where you've got to now make the sacrifice and have to come into town and play your cricket? It just doesn't sit well with me, Peter.
No, I don't want to repeat myself, but I just feel like we want to keep as many parts of Canterbury cricket strong as we can, and give people the option. And people are should be allowed to make a decision if they want to play in the country or in town, wherever they want to play. That's their decision and their right, I guess. And
can I give you an insight too? On Saturday, the St Bede's College Press Cup game was ground changed to Ahoka. Now, I must admit, I'd never been to Mandeville for rugby. What a fabulous setup it is out there. It's a sports hub, which is now the modern word which we're looking at, from pony club through to bowling club to squash club to rugby club to cricket, the whole lot. When we arrived there about 10:30 in the morning, trestle tables were set up outside and every table had a number on it, like under 6, under 7, all the food was out, and I just thought, what a wonderful experience for country kids. Country do it well. When I used to play a bit of country cricket or out in the country cricket, I loved the afternoon teas, Pete. They were outstanding, mate. But you do seem to be old school, if you like, and go the extra mile with kids with sport, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, it's a different experience probably to playing in town, and as I say, it's not just. I mean, it's my personal opinion that we need to rethink this decision. But like I said, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't spoken to a lot of people who, for whatever reason, maybe feel like their voice isn't going to be heard, or.
So do you think Metro might have misread the scenario?
Oh, look, I think Metro, at the end of the day, they can make any decision they want. Really, that's I guess is their right. But I do think that there hasn't been enough consultation on this. I think if you talk to the players, I guess drill down a little bit deeper with the Metro clubs, I think you'd find that a lot of people aren't really that supportive of this decision. And I think if you talk to a lot of people involved in country cricket, I think you would find the vast majority are against this.
To put it crudely, do you think this decision could stuff country cricket?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yes, I do. It might not happen this year, or it might not happen next year, but in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, I think when we look back, I think if you take away, I guess that that very top level of the of cricket in Canterbury country, I think it's going to make it very, very difficult to retain your players, considering that all our, probably 95% of our current countryside are all kids or guys that were born in the country, grew up in the country, and then went to school in Christchurch. I mean, if you want to be a
but then came back.
But then came back.
Yeah.
If you want to be a decent cricketer these days, in Canterbury, you've got to go to school in town because that's where you're going to play against your peers and, you know, get the best coaching and so forth. But it's always been a battle to get guys to come back. And if we can't do that, it's going to make it very tough.
You see, the thing that worries me a little bit, I would have thought Canterbury Cricket would have been actually addressing the issue of what do we do with the spurt of growth out in those country areas. How are we going to handle it? How can we have coaches? How do we do this? To do this and rob country, to me, just doesn't seem the right decision. Well, we've done it to death, and I still invite Metro to come forward. I'd love to have them on the program. As I say, there's two sides to every argument. It's obviously a decision that's been well thought, whether it's been well communicated. I think that's probably half the problem. But how often do we see that happen from government level right down to grassroots? The message just not sold correctly, and I think that's part of the problem. While I've got him here, Pete, outstanding, not from a personal point of view, obviously, but an outstanding achievement by the Black Caps to win that series in the West Indies.
Yeah, amazing achievement, really. I think when you look back at, I guess, the last, 20 years or even the history of New Zealand cricket, it's been a long time since, we've beaten a traditional sort of cricketing, nation overseas in a three-match series. So, yeah, great achievement by the whole team, and I think fingers crossed if they can maintain that sort of form and stuff, then the World Cup this year should be, early next year should be a beauty. Given
the flogging that your guys got in the second test, remarkable turnaround, wasn't it? They came out thoroughly determined. The first innings didn't go that clever, but they were that determined to win the test. That's a side that is encouraging to see, isn't it, in cricket? Yeah,
well, I think probably that would be. I guess one of the failings of the the New Zealand cricket team over the last 10, 20 years is that when the pressure really comes on and the other side's on top, sometimes we haven't probably fought as hard or as long as what we would have liked to. So to see that sort of comeback, it was great to watch. And
how are you mentally, mate?
Yeah, I don't know. Do
okay?
I seem all right?
Yeah, you okay?
No. I mean, it's
no contract. That's a bit deflating.
It's disappointing, but it's
especially when we still haven't got an opening pair. That's the thing that worries me a bit.
Yeah, look, it's part of professional sport, I guess. If you play professional sport for long enough, then you're going to have your ups and your downs. It can't all be roses and chocolates, I guess. And look, I've enjoyed every minute I've had playing for New Zealand and playing for Canterbury. And I'm like I said, I look back and I guess I remember the good times rather than. If you only look back and remembered the negative stuff, then you wouldn't enjoy life.
Well, the greatest compliments you can have. I was with Napoleon Bonaparte the other day. That's what I call Brendan McCullum, because he's a little general, isn't he? He said the guy he's going to miss in the shed is Peter Fulton, because the junior players still gravitate to you. You've got a wealth of knowledge, and I think that helps a captain a hell of a lot in the shed. So you will be missed from even just that point of view. So there we are. Okay, purple and gold in the T20.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit different.
You like it?
Oh, look, I think the thing I like is that Canterbury cricket, weren't afraid to try something new. They realised
the rest of the game we're going to be in red and black.
Yeah, we want to keep the red and black at heart.
Please you.
The T20, it's a little bit different. You've got to acknowledge that you're trying to attract the younger crowd, and they're not quite probably I guess as traditional as some of us.
Okay, I've loved your company. Well, to be fair, I have been a great supporter of Canterbury cricket in recent times. I think the Oval decision, it was fraught with pitfalls and judder bars and God knows what, but they stuck to it and got there. We've got such a wonderful summer coming up of cricket, right played in Hagley Oval. For this to have cropped up, I do believe, guys, if you've watched this program, make your feelings known and let's see if we can just get a law passed for common sense, because I think that's what's been needed. I'll catch you again next week, same time.